Life's a gift, enjoy the present, yeah, it's very special. You're just an infinite orb of consciousness inside a skin suit. You're just awareness, living life through biological vessels. That's why I'm giving them words of wisdom. All I do is speak truth. Use your brain, that's what it's for. Make
Clap
sure
it.
you're ready for anything. But be aware and take
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What a Shit Show comedy podcast. By the way, if you didn't know, this is a comedy podcast, and nothing that I say on here should be taken as a recommendation for you to do. Some of the things I speak are simply from my own experience, or they are completely made up on the spot, and you should never, ever, ever take it as any advice. So, with that out of the way, let's get into today's podcast. And everybody already knows the drill. We're popping a zin in. It's 3:10, 3:11 in the morning right now. I'm shooting a pretty late night podcast. I just came back from a stand-up show where I did 6 minutes, even though I came completely unprepared. Actually, it came out pretty funny. And maybe we're gonna watch some of this today. Actually, I think we should start off by saying that I done exactly the same thing I done right now before this podcast. Before the stand-up show, I popped a velo in. And I told everybody because I heard Duncan say this. It's like the Zins or the Velos number six, like are the strongest ones you can possibly get, and it's literally poison. Like every single time Duncan does it, supposedly he like projectile vomits. So I like use that in my show because there was people sitting like half a meter away from me in the stands, and right before I go on the mic, I like pop it in, and then everybody like sees that I'm doing a Zin or a Velo, and I'm like, yeah, I stopped smoking recently, and every single time I do these, and these are like the strongest, I like projectile vomit, and then I said sorry in advance to the people sitting in front of me. So that was pretty funny. Maybe I will like show it right here, but to know exactly how it looks when I'm showing it to you, I'm gonna play at the same time. So here we go. We start the podcast.
Our turn!
And we start the stand-up.
Yeah, I stopped smoking recently, but I got myself these velos. But I got like the strongest ones you can get, and every single time I do one of these, I like projectile vomit. So I'm sorry in advance.
Watch out.
Watch out.
Yeah, and then I actually go into the fact that I started a podcast. So this is what I said because the stand-up open mic, the very first one I ever did, and the one that I continue going to on every Friday, I can make it is it's called Hotbox, and so I said this to the audience today.
Yeah, I started a podcast. I want to name it after this show, but hot boxing was already taken by Mike Tyson, so I just named it What a Shit Show instead.
So that's why this podcast is called What a Shit Show. I actually named it What a Shit Show so that even when people start commenting like, "Oh my God, what a shit show," I'd be like, "Yeah, you can read. Keep moving on. Keep trying to find something that you do actually like." So yeah, that's a little bit about stand-up. Maybe I will show you a few different bits. I'm not sure really what I want to go into today. I'm every single time I try to shoot a podcast like 2 days in a row, like it's really hard because I feel like to shoot a good podcast, you have to like the reason people do it once a week is because you actually get a week to like go and do everything that you normally do, which is like look shit up, things happen to you, and then you can like gather that whole week and like put it out for people to see, and then it's like way more interesting, can be longer. But I don't know, I just have this tingling feeling like I need to get a podcast out of the way, and maybe I will record this and then maybe I'll release it later. Like some people say, it's good to like sit on a few podcasts, so in case you can't like do one for whatever reason, life happens. Everybody knows life happens, and then you can't do all the things that you wanted to do. Maybe I will like sit on the podcast so that I have something to release in those times that I cannot record. But yeah, so I just came back from the stand-up show and it was fucking cool because I literally like didn't prepare. I had like the Bible joke or the religion joke written maybe before, but it wasn't even like exactly the same. Because I find when I started writing comedy and like trying to learn the whole science of like joke writing and things like that, if I was like if I just wrote it, I usually wrote. I never had like a joke that I wrote like a week before, and then I like studied and practiced. So every time I wrote, it was like before I got on stage, newbie mistakes. And like if I would find myself reading off the phone. And one like people don't like it. It's like William Montgomery trying to read off the phone. He's the only one that can like get away with it on like Kill Tony and things like that. My aircon is leaking into the mop bucket at the moment. That's what's distracting me in the back. Yeah, so like every time I try to read the joke, once I realize that the audience doesn't like that I'm reading it off a phone, and two, like my legs start shaking. Like I feel I'm not prepared, so I rather just I found what works better for me is if I just have the premise in my mind, I kind of know how to structure it and how to talk to the audience, and you can get some feedback from them, and there is like ways to interact with them, especially when they're sitting quiet. Like I'll show you in this one clip here when I start talking about the gays. So this is the clip from today.
Like, do gays always talk like that? Like, when do they start talking like that? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody's sitting quiet and shit. When do they talk like that? Like, if I was gay, I would get all the men. So easy, so easy. Steven, you be first. I get the biggest
friend
one
is
out the way
hackling.
first. Focus on the small guys after that. Yeah, so like when when they bring it up to the parents, like they obviously, if I went to my mom, like she would never assume I'm gay, obviously, because I'm straight, fuck. But like she wouldn't know I'm gay, so like when do I start talking gay? Like, is it right after I tell them, you know? So it's like, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm gay. And she's like, oh my god, no, son, it's okay. Like, we live in a nice progressive world. I'm like, oh my god, Mom, I thought I could never tell you. Like, what the fuck? I thought you guys would be so angry. I'm so happy. Where's my dick?
Yeah, I should have finished with the last part. I probably could have got rid of that. But that's what happens when you go to these comedy shows, like you're working bits. And after looking at the bits I did today, I have like maybe two or three decent bits in there. Like as I'm rewatching them myself at the house, because the moment I came back to the house, I like had to edit what I had, and then I was just rewatching and resharing them on different social medias like Facebook and Instagram and on my stories and things, so people can actually see them and like someone like can actually follow me. By the way, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll put my handle right here. Follow me on Spontaneous if you are into the more spontaneous side of me, and then I also have my other Instagram that I haven't posted for a while, but that's like my fitness Instagram where I post like gym and jiu-jitsu kind of stuff. So if you're into that, then follow along. And by the way, if you guys haven't subscribed to this podcast and you've been watching, please do so now, because that's the best way to support this podcast without paying anything. So I would be really grateful if everybody did that. That would be awesome. Um, yeah, and then I had this bit about religion where basically I go into the fact like how much more evidence do people need? Like who is anybody like who reads the Bible? Like I actually have a Bible here on my shelf. I remember one day I just woke up and I was like, I'm gonna start reading the Bible because I've been like a Catholic my whole life and I've never like out of my own like will like read the Bible, you know, like you read it at the church. You most of the time you only read it like when you what do you call it? You go to the sinner, you go for a confession to the sinner box. I was gonna say, and you talk to the priest, and then he tells you like read a few Marys or whatever you call it, like if 3 times or 4 times, and then yeah, go about your day, and all your sins are vanquished. You know. So I remember those days, and I started talking about the Bible and religion, and that the Christianity especially has been like really progressive in the recent years, and how much more evidence do people need to realize that like it's all nonsense because the Bible and the people in charge keep changing the rules to like suit the people. Like here's an example. In the bit I did is like I completely messed up this up. I think I'm just gonna show you the bit that I did because I completely messed that up. Yeah. So here's this bit.
Because here's the thing. Religion has been like, especially Christianity has been like really progressive, you know. And if you need like any more evidence that religion is absolutely bullshit, is that they keep changing the rules to like suit the people. They're like, sorry, Mr. Pope, but the government is throwing the frogs and people gay, so there is a lot more gays in the population than there used to be. It's like, okay, change the rules. Fucking first they take my slaves, now they take my favorite hobby. What the fuck is this shit?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about ways to like add to that bit. So you could be like, maybe you should have paid your fucking taxes. Maybe then the government would have laid off your ass. Everybody else is paying taxes. Why is the church not paying tax, huh? Because they're in charge of the fucking world, and every single person, every single influencer that is siding with like one religion or the other, like they're not stupid people. Like they have figured it out. Maybe some of them genuinely want to believe in these things, but like I think it's because they realize that the most powerful force on the planet is belief, and nothing operates more on belief than religion. And so by sticking with like you get the like look what Tay did with the whole Muslim thing, you know, like he was Catholic first, or he was atheist first, then he went back to Christianity, and then like he got all those people, and then he like sided with the Muslims. And I don't think it was because of the Quran and that the fact that he's seen infinity with Quran. I think is because he realized one, you get the whole if you switch to them, they're really welcoming people, and I'm nobody to speak against that kind of shit, but it's like everybody's gonna welcome you in. You're gonna get that whole part of the world, and I think you just realized that it's such a powerful force that if you literally just side with them, like they will keep you on their boat, you know. And one bit I forgot about the religion actually recently is that I said because I started the joke off with I used to not believe in any religion, and recently I started believing again because and then I went into the whole bit about the gay, people turning gay, because the water and things like that, and the chemicals in the water turning everybody gay. And then I remember what happened last time? Everybody started turning gay and fucking each other. Yeah, the god flooded planet. That's why you get like Noah's Ark and myths like that. And then I was supposed to do a bit where the priest goes to the Pope like, remember last time if you changed the rules, like remember last time God flooded the whole earth? That was only one time. He's not gonna do that again. And then you see in Vietnam, like in the north of Vietnam, there's these huge typhoons and like the place is absolutely flooded. You see like Poland and all the countries like below Poland, it's all absolutely flooded. Like we haven't seen floods like that in ages. You look at like the Florida and things like that, and it's absolutely flooded also. And I'm just thinking like maybe you should start believing in this thing. Maybe Noah's Ark is not just a myth that they tell people. Maybe this is actually like a warning sign because even in the Hindu religion, we are supposed to be approaching a time where like the world is supposed to end and shit. So yeah, that's my little rant about religion. Uh, yeah, I'm not even gonna show you guys the last bit. The last bit is it's kind of crazy. Actually, you know what? No, I will show you the bit because it was funny because I got to the same point in the bit where nobody was laughing, everybody stayed quiet, and I knew exactly why they stayed quiet. And maybe when I show it to you, it's gonna make more sense. So here we go. And three, two, one, bump.
I think actually I'm of the opinion, not from personal experience or anything, but I'm of the opinion that every man has had a dick in his mouth at least once, and they either tried to suck their own dick or they were six and tried to have someone else's dick because there was no women around. And everybody's sitting quiet, but I know exactly what you guys are thinking. It's like, how does he know? Because I am just like you guys.
Or am I?
Everybody thinks they're their unique self, but everybody is the fucking same at the very core. Everybody opens their eyes when they come out of a vagina, and they interpret this fucking crazy world. And and you don't know if it's gay when you're six, like there's some 5-year-old and shit, you're like playing doctor and shit, you know what you're doing. It's like sometimes you get lucky, you get to experience it with a girl right away. I don't even think about the men, but like, in some cases, not my case, but in some cases you do it with the men, and then you figure out you're not gay. So positives on both sides.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm kind of learning how to interact with the audience because like sometimes they will sit quiet for a reason, especially because the open mic that I go to is like there's it's mainly comics that go there, so like everybody's kind of sitting there like worried about their own set, they're not paying attention to laugh. And there's a few people that are not comics that come to these shows, but like that's also another little thing that I've been talking about to my mates that when you talk just in front of comics, like the level is different. Like you can kind of get away more things. Like I even got away with like saying the N word because only my black friend was there and he gave me the pass when I said it, so it was cool. But like you can get away with more things. But then if you went to like a different place, like you don't know how people are gonna react if they're not comics and they don't deal with that level of humor on a daily basis. Like you could offend a lot of people. And I don't know. I feel like speaking your mind is something you should do. And if you go to a comedy show and you get offended, like it's like going to the butcher and like getting offended that there is dead animals in front of you. Like don't go there if you're gonna get offended easily about these things. We're all just going there to have a laugh. It's a beautiful place. Stand up is such a beautiful art, and everybody that starts it realizes that. You used to go out with people because you want to have fun. There is literally no more better people on the planet, even amateur comics. Like there's no better people on the planet to go and have a good drink with, and you get these free drinks when you like finish the show and things. So it's a 100% guaranteed fun time if you go and you have an open mind and you just like participate, especially because only the people that participate get a free drink. But like even if you don't, you can go there. And I highly recommend if you've never done stand up. I've been putting away for so many years, and like I've had so many opportunities before to like go and see the comics that I want to see, and I never went to see them. And I regret that because maybe I could have started earlier, maybe you could have like sparked something like planted a seed in me to like go and do it earlier. So yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do because if I have to leave this place, which I was talking about on my other podcast, thanks to the police and things. If I have to leave, then I'm gonna move to Poland. Like, am I gonna do open mics in Poland? I have to do them in Polish. If I move to Norway, like, am I gonna find an open mic in the place that I'm gonna be where there's English speakers and things like that? So yeah, I really don't know how everything's gonna roll out, which is exactly why I started this podcast because I have realized even after doing like 5 or 6 of these that because I do like a solo cast at the moment and I don't really interact with guests, like I get to speak, I have to speak all by myself all the time and I have to figure out what to say. And sometimes on stage you get frozen and like you don't know what to say. And like if you are practicing talking to yourself, one, you're practicing bits because you never know where your mind is gonna go and like what you could possibly like get out of that and what you can expand on in like a proper comedy bit. Like as I said, I don't feel these podcasts and then all of a sudden like I went without preparing anything and like I actually did better than I did in my other open mics, which is weird. And all thanks to podcasting. So yeah, I recommend everybody if you're interested in comedy, like even do these little solo versions at your house so you can like talk to yourself and like get better at talking to yourself. I need to plug the charger in because we're all gonna die here. If I unplug the charger in, the world is gonna end. Oh my god, I just saved the universe. That's what I do best. I save the universe, I enlighten people. I have the crack and fun while I do it. So that's what I like to do. Yeah, I have in my last video I was talking about how God and devil are the same thing, and I don't know how people took that. I didn't really expand on that, but then I came back home and the first thing I wrote myself on the board is that if you think about it, God and devil are the same thing because like people often say that you hear this all the time where it's like always both a blessing and a curse. But it's a blessing if you receive it from God, and it's a curse if you receive it from the devil. And like you hear these people in the government and like Diddy and all these like they all these like Hollywood stars are like praying to the devil, and maybe it's because the devil actually gives you what you want, but he definitely makes you pay for it later. Like you hear this that like every time you pray, you are praying to both sides. Like you don't know, and that you're supposed to know like who you're talking to and who's actually receiving the information you tell him. So I was like, maybe when you pray to the devil, he gives you everything you want, but then he makes you pay for it in the end. But then I thought to myself, doesn't God kind of do the same thing? Like if you ask God for patience, he gives you opportunities to be patient. If you ask God for riches, he gives you opportunities to like make money, and things like that. And like in the end, doesn't he take it all away anyway? Doesn't everybody die? Doesn't like not make sense if you're like live in the most beautiful and perfect existence ever according to today's societal standards, and like even if you live the whole thing, like you're gonna see if you live all the way to the end and you don't die in the process, like you're gonna see everything and everybody you loved like die. Art forms change, like hip hop changes, and like people get sore over that because they're romanticizing like the way it used to be, and like the only thing you have to remember is that constant is the only change. Like every single thing changes. Like that's why I've been thinking about like when I was in the process of like asking myself like who am I and things like that. Like if what does it matter who you are today if like you're a different person every single day. Like I'm not the same person I was last week. Like everything changes. Every cell in my body is constantly changing and making new versions of itself. And like you are constantly like evolving. So like maybe there is some good sides to like figuring out who you are so you can like see why you are the way you are. But like in the end, uh, the more you look deep into the self, you realize there's actually nothing there, and you create the self. So yeah, that's my little rant about self improvement, I guess. So maybe I'll just wrap it up about death. I want everybody who's listening to this to realize how blessed you are just because you are free. And as I wasn't in prison for very long. I was there for 8 days in the cell. It was a Vietnamese prison. Like nobody, I recommend a week to everybody, to be honest, so you can like see how much your phone like is overtaking your mind and what happens to your mind and your imagination when you actually like step away from like using your phone and things. But yeah, one thing that you definitely learn to appreciate if you just manage to remind yourself is how free you are to actually do whatever you want to do, and how most of these limits that are imposed of yourself are self limitations that you have self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back from doing whatever you want in this world. And the thing is, here's the thing: every human being sets its own limits, but unfortunately, most do it unconsciously. And if you think about it, everybody's sort of a prisoner of their own mind. You're a prisoner inside your own body. And if you look even deeper, your body is made up of cells. So that's interesting. Yeah, so everybody's a prisoner, but everybody can set themselves free, as they like to say. There's a quote that says that the gates of hell are locked from the inside. So you can always leave that hell that you're currently living in, and you can open that door and you can get the fuck out of there, like you should. I hope you all have a beautiful existence, and thank you for watching What a Shit Show, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
Use your brain, that's what it's for. Make sure you're ready for anything, but be aware and take caution. Don't embrace that negative energy. My lyrics are extraordinarily conscious and oh so clear. Don't be scared, embrace your powers. Be formidable, show no fear. Life is one big game, reality is all in your mind.